Okay, so we are ready to start. Today's event is special for a number of reasons. Number one, a couple of days ago, we celebrated our 3rd birthday. So this is the first event after we turned 3, so we are all grown up now. Number two, this is event number 30. So it's also sort of an anniversary. And as you have already gathered, this is the first event that will be done fully in English because of the live stream that is broadcasting, thanks to the popularity of our today's guest and the very large number of people who asked for the event to be done in English so they could understand and follow it online. So today's event is done in cooperation with the British Council in Montenegro, the NGO Circle from London, and as a very special announcement to a very interesting event called Green Fest. And without further ado, first I would like to hand the floor to our dear guest, Vanya, who will tell you a little more about this. Vanya, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 2 months ago, Vanya Vulic, where is Vanya? Hi. He was guest in the British Council's documentary film, which was made on the occasion of 20th anniversary of the British Council in Montenegro. And in this film, Vanya was talking about how his first contact with internet was actually in the British Council 20 years ago, which for him was the only window into the world back then. Today, 20 years after, British Council is guest in Vanya's organization, which is actually promoting digital culture and digital entrepreneurship. And I must say, I'm extremely proud and honored to be able to work together with somebody like Vanya, who is so dynamic and brilliant. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And your lovely audience, of course. Tonight's presentation by Habib is actually part of a much bigger initiative called Green Culture Fest, which is organized by the NGO Krug from London and Podgorica as well, and which actually promotes a sustainable and responsible way of thinking and doing whatever you do. And tonight, Habib will actually explain that green culture is not just about green, and not just about culture, but actually it's a much larger and much broader concept. Let me just say that why British Council is involved in something like green, you may wonder. It's because we believe that we are all responsible and should be responsive to what goes on around us. You know, what goes on, you know, in our vicinity. We should be responsive to the people we work with, to our communities, to our neighborhood, and to our planet. And that's why British Council is supporting, and we're very honored to be part of this larger network. And I hope after this presentation, you know, this network will just grow larger and larger. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation, and we're happy to have on board Habib Lesevic, who is entrepreneur. He's a lecturer at several universities, London and Berlin. He's an innovator. He's a thinker. He is a brilliant young Montenegrin living all around Europe, and we're very, very proud to have Habib on board with us. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Vanya, and your team for hosting us here tonight.
Thank you, Vanya, for your kind words. Thank you, Vanya, Natasha, the Digitalizme, for having me. Thank you guys for showing up. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm really amazed by the fantastic thing that's going on here. It's very progressive, very beautiful. Okay, it's a long one, so shall we kick off? Yeah, shall we? Everyone understands me, yeah? You know, I will most likely ask you questions, and I will point you out, okay? So if you stay mute, then I will come and check you and get the words out of you. Okay, so today's, and we have one person in the audience that knows it's true, okay, because she's seen it before. Okay, so And the other thing is I will be walking in front of the screen. It's not really that important because that thing's just for me to talk. It's not so much for you guys to read. But if you do want to see something on there, my head's blocking it, just tell me to move, okay? The other thing, my slide decks are just a structure, loose storyline. If you have any questions or any comments, don't be shy, let me know, and then we'll take it in. Okay, so it's not like you will disturb the performance if there's something you want to share with me. Cool. Real quick, just a few words about me, so that you know who I am and what I do. I'm a managing partner at the holistic consulting firm Koncept, which my colleagues and I founded in 2010. It's based in London, so we basically do projects, coaching and education, where we try to help create ventures, create processes, improve systems in a holistic way, and develop people's potentials in a holistic way. As Vanya said, entrepreneur, educator, coach. I'm not the biggest fan of these terms because I think I'm me, and that's the stuff I do. But okay, I guess for dinner parties it's useful to have some labels. I teach entrepreneurship, systems theory, and sustainable design at Cass Business School and ECP Europe, and from time to time also at the Royal College of Art in London. And I'm a member of the American Society for Cybernetics, which just kind of looks good on that. So that's what's on. Okay, so let's kick off. Let's remind ourselves of the title today. It's Green Culture and Innovation in the Information Age, because I figured maybe this is a bit about digital, this space. And you guys, I understand, what's your profile? Most of your students, is that right? Students of what? Economics. Okay, let's cut this off. All right, but you're saving it. Okay, good. Just kidding, just kidding. I studied that stuff as well. Okay. There's life after it too. Great. Okay, so this is on here. This is on here. I hope it'll be useful for you, okay? And if there's stuff where you feel, ooh, this is almost useful, there's just a little bit more missing, then let me know and I'll try to give you that last bit, okay? It's a run through a whole bunch of different things. So, okay, let's kick off. Yeah, revolution. We're experiencing a revolution. There's a revolution happening out there. Okay, it's happening in London, it's happening in Berlin, in Paris, it's happening in Podgorica. Do you know what this could be? Do you have any ideas what I could be talking about? Yeah, nothing ever happens here, does it? Okay. All right. I want to answer that, but in order to answer this, let me go back in time a little bit, okay? Let me go back in time a little bit. Do you remember this thing? Have you heard of that? You guys study economics, come on, you gotta know about this. What's that? The Industrial Revolution. Yeah? What was the Industrial Revolution about? When was it? Do we know, roughly? It was in Britain, of course, where else? Yes, yes, exactly. When roughly, do you know about, kicked off, we would, 1750 to 1850 was a transition period, and then 1850, roughly, we can say that's when the Industrial Age kind of kicked off, okay? When the Industrial Age kicked off. Do you know what happened during the Industrial Revolution? Do you have any idea? Oh, beautiful. Okay, so it took about 100 years to transition, okay? And then something was invented, and this is what happened, okay? This is years, okay? So 10th century, 12, 14, 16, 18, okay? Population, GDP, okay? 18th century, Industrial Revolution kicks off. You see that? That looks pretty good, or pretty scary, either way you look at it. Okay? And it's exactly what you say. What happened at this particular point here, what happened was that we invented the machine. Okay? We invented the machine. And you know what that meant for us? It meant we finally conquered nature. We finally conquered nature. We found a way to conquer the laws of physics, make them work for us. You know, no longer damn gravity, I can't fly, but now we can say, I'll make you work for me in this production process. Okay? So what happened around the Industrial Revolution? This invention gave us suddenly all kinds of well-being, wealth, full bellies, warm homes, things that before seemed so luxurious, suddenly they became available for a lot of people. Okay? So what happened with the invention of the machine, okay, and its conquest of nature, we took on the metaphor of the machine as the highest form of existence and of development, okay? In other words, the highest form of organization. Yeah, the machine became the metaphor of progress in the 19th century. All right, and what that means, okay, when I say metaphor, I mean it became the way we started to look at the world. Okay, in mechanical terms, in machine terms. All right, that means it informed our perspective on nature. Right? How many have you ever heard anyone say, "Ooh, your body is like a car. You got to put fuel in it"? That's a mechanistic perspective on the body. The body is, of course, not a car. You know, the car doesn't exist of cells, does it? Right? Okay. It shaped the way we thought about progress, economics, yeah, the mechanics of the market. Have you ever heard that term? That's a mechanical perspective. Okay, and of course, organization. Okay, how has the metaphor of the machine affected the way we organize ourselves? Simple. Okay, I'll show it to you. First, how's a machine organized? You have one chip, you have one brain, and a whole bunch of mechanical parts that execute. One function and you execute. Okay? So what the metaphor of the machine has done for us, it has led us to organize business vertically. Trust me, I haven't forgotten what this is about. We will get there. Okay, but I have to take you through this journey. All right, so stick with me. Okay. The metaphor of the machine suggested to us the best way to organize ourselves is in vertical hierarchies. You've got one brain that controls everything and a whole bunch of limbs that execute. And because the machine doesn't have feelings or emotions, you can have 1,000 limbs, 10,000. Yeah, one brain. Have you ever wondered why CEOs earn 1,000 times more than the average worker in the company? Yeah, because that bit's really important in this setup. Okay. The other thing, all right, the metaphor of the machine has brought to us in organizational terms the idea of linear processes. Things are linear. Yeah, we go from A to B to C to D. In other words, they're predictable. This idea of predictability has come up. Okay, through the mechanical metaphor. And the other thing that came from it also was the idea that scale is a good thing. Okay, again, mechanical parts. You know, whether I build a car with 2 cylinders of 4 or 8 or 12, 12 is better than 4, I think. So they say. I don't have a license. I don't know. But okay. And in this whole question of scale, making our organizations big, okay, the metaphor of the machine lifted from us, because it was the conquest of nature, lifted from us the question of, is there even space for that which we're expanding? Is there even space for it? No need. It's us. We have conquered nature. There's plenty of space for us. Okay. Also, the metaphor of the machine within this topic of scale, okay, has made us believe that the efficiency of scale is the same. You know, in fact, the larger it gets, the more efficient it gets, right? Economies of scale. Remember that in your classes? Did you have that? Did you talk about that? The bigger something gets, the cheaper it gets. Okay. All right. All of that, you might wonder, what is he talking about? Isn't this about green culture? Well, you know, to this day, this is how business is organized. Vertical hierarchy, at least big business. Vertical hierarchies, linear processes, and they're trying to scale. Okay. But there's a fourth thing that the Industrial Revolution brought to us. Do you know? Do you know? Yeah. Pollution. I like it. That too, and we'll get to that. Specialization. Okay? In a business, in an organization, in a country where you have one brain and a whole bunch of limbs, if you want to be a limb in that system, you better be very, very specialized. Okay? That's considered a good thing, isn't it? Right? But actually, what this is, okay, it's kind of the precursor to the ghettoization of our awareness. Ghettoization in human terms, okay? A narrow radius of awareness, okay? We'll get to that in a bit. All right. So I mentioned revolution before. What revolution is going on? Okay? This revolution is happening. This revolution is happening. Okay? You can upload your picture from anywhere, anytime. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Is that what I'm talking about? Selfies? What's the revolution behind this, guys? Smartphones. That's the technology that stems from this revolution. Yeah. What else? Digital. What about the digital? What about that? What does that do? Good point. Digital. Yeah. What's revolutionary in this, guys? What is she doing?
It's a bit egocentric, maybe.
Expressing herself.
Egocentric. Let's see about that. Expressing herself, because we haven't dropped those terms yet. I don't want to get them confused.
Presence. You can be present anywhere, anytime.
Presence. Expressing herself. What do you think she's going to do with that video, probably, that she's filming or that?
Everybody's connected.
Everybody's connected, everybody's got access to one another, okay? Right? Right? Guys, the technologies we see, the smartphones, the internet, okay?
Everything became global and nothing is about country or space around us. It's everything global and on the net.
On the
Everything
net. Do you know what we call something that's connected all over? We call it a network, yeah? And that's where the revolution lies, okay? We are slowly moving. It took the Industrial Revolution 100 years to shift from agriculture to industry, okay? We're at the beginning, 20, 30 years of the network revolution, okay? Where the metaphor of the machine as the highest form of organization is being replaced by the metaphor of the network. Yeah? Is that good for you digital people here? You're like, yes, I know it. I'm on the right track, playing for the right team. Okay, why is it a revolution? What does the network revolution bring us? Okay, why is it a revolution? Think about it. Is a network organized hierarchically? Is a network all about scale? Yeah. Is a network about linearity? The opposite. Okay. In fact, it flattens out hierarchy. Okay. It flattens out hierarchy. Yeah. It breaks open linear processes. It's all about openness. You can enter the system from different sides. Okay. And often also transparent. Yeah. And it's about access. It's no longer one on top and a whole bunch of people at the bottom. Okay, everyone's kind of got pretty flat access. Okay, and you know what that all leads to? If you participate in a system, if you are part of a system, you know what that means for you? Can you still sit in the corner on a production line and just go, all right, today I'm working 8 hours, I'm doing my job faster. Okay, got it. Can you do that? What happens when you network? What happens? You have to be up to date, you have to be aware, and you have to function, you have to participate, okay? That's what's happening to us, okay? We are moving into a world of participation and awareness. Yeah, can you relate to that? Does that make sense? Can you relate to that? Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, so that's the revolution that's happening, guys, okay? Can you see that in your own lives? I can certainly see it in my own life, okay? We're moving from passivity, specialization, focus on self, what you call the opposite of what you just mentioned, the egocentricity, just me, my world, nothing around me, okay? Into a world of awareness and participation, ecocentricity, yeah? Whole bunch of things happening around me, okay? So what is this revolution, because here we're economic students, and I know that this space is used for entrepreneurs a lot, and that this space pushes the creative people of this town, so that's how I'm gonna treat you. I'm not gonna treat you as economic students. I'm gonna treat you as people that make a difference and can make a difference. Okay, so what does this shift mean for business innovation and creation? Okay, let's look at that together. All right, so more participation, more awareness, flatter hierarchies, accessibility to information and resources, openness, transparency. We can enter and exit. Okay, the first thing that means, guys, okay, is that we are moving away as individuals, and again, check it on yourself whether this is true. We're moving away from the role of the consumer towards participation. We want to be participants, not consumers. Okay, we want to be participants, not consumers. Right? Think about it. Facebook. Are you a consumer? Right? Okay. Wikipedia. Right? The boundary between production and consumption. What this means is that the boundary between production and consumption, okay, is blurring. Again, Facebook. Who's producing the valuable stuff on Facebook? The users, right? Do you work for them? Are you consumers of Facebook? I mean, of course you consume something, right? But are you just consumers? Is that the role? No, you're actually actively participating. Wikipedia, who writes the articles on Wikipedia? You probably, yeah, or me probably, you know? Okay, exactly, right? Or even more banal, consumer products, which traditional consumer. Nike ID, you know Nike ID? Shoes? You know who they employ as designer? You, exactly. The one who wants to buy it. You design your own shoes. That's the most banal of the examples, but that's a form of participation. We're no longer just passive consumers. We're moving into a more active role, okay? What that means is, because participation brings about awareness, okay, is that the market, that's the second thing that's happening, the market is beginning to demand more mindful, more holistically sustainable offerings, okay? Okay? The market is starting to demand more holistic offerings, okay? I'll give you an example. Organic food, yeah? You know, probably not so big in this country because most of the things you eat hopefully are organic. In the UK, Organic food? Yeah, right? Okay. I tell you what, I'm a snob, I never buy anything else. Okay, because I don't want the pesticides and I don't want the crap and the GM in me. Okay? I can tell you 15 years ago, I would eat, you give me that strawberry that's that big and shines green, and I'll be, wow. Okay? So we are growing as a market. The market is beginning to demand mindful, sustainable offerings. Okay? In other words, this is what's happening. This is what the market is saying. Okay? I want change. That's the second move. Okay? What this means for business, what's business about, guys? What is business about? What is business all about? Earning money. Yeah, that's exactly what I was shooting for. Thank you. Okay, it's the most awful answer you could give me, but it's exactly what I wanted you to give me. So thank you for that. Okay, business is actually not about that. We want to, maybe later we can talk about that. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, right? Satisfy consumer needs, right? With often the motivation to make money, which is a bit of a perversion of what business actually. But we'll talk about that later, maybe in the Q&A. If you want to ask that later, we can talk about it. Okay, but it's about satisfying consumer demands. Okay, in other words, okay, as this is happening, what that means for business is that business can no longer just ignore the impact it is having on everything around it. Okay, business can no longer just ignore the impact that it is having around it. Okay, because previously we kind of rolled along the lines of, you know what, just ignore it, it'll go away. Yeah, but we are realizing, our customers are making us realize, all right, the market is making us realize that just because we ignore it doesn't mean it's not happening. Yeah, it's still happening. Okay, very interesting case with Nestle maybe a year ago. Okay, it got publicized that the way they farm palm oil in Central Africa, okay, they were using child labor, treating people very poorly and whatnot. That came onto Twitter. Yeah, people went mad on Twitter, shared this around Facebook and whatnot, and the sales of Nestle products dumped to the point that Nestle opened a new department, okay, which was social media management, and they hired a director for that, okay, and they tried to contain the aftermath of that, and they basically stopped that production process that they had there, okay. So impact can no longer be ignored because we're being forced by the market, okay, to pay attention to what it is that we're doing. What that means for us, guys, is, okay, the market is demanding change. That means for us, the opportunities today lie in what we would say conscious offerings. Okay, it's a term we're trying to coin. Yeah, conscious offerings, aware conscious offerings. Okay, offering can be a product, a service, an experience. I call it offering because I don't want to limit it to a product. Okay, so conscious offerings, that's where it's at today. Market success is at that, and in the coming years as well. Okay, so when I say conscious offerings, conscious of what? Conscious of what? Conscious of the environment. Cool. Anything else?
People needs health.
People needs health. Yeah, all bunch of stuff, right? Okay. Business doesn't just affect the environment. Okay. Effectively, we're asking conscious of the impact we're having, right? Conscious of the impact we're having on all levels, right? So the question is that we're asking, what exactly do we have impact on? Okay. What exactly do we have impact on? All right. Again, with the shift to participation, okay, and this question is coming up, and this need for conscious offerings, okay, this forces us to move out of this ghettoization, okay, of our awareness, just on our task, on the thing we're doing, on our profits, on our production processes, okay, and move into something wider. So what is included in this wider thing? Okay, here's the fact that a lot of business doesn't realize. Okay, business and innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? So when we speak of impact dimensions, really we're asking, okay, what context is it subject to? What's the context that business operates in that it impacts on? Okay, because the context it operates in is the context it impacts on. Okay, so it's important to explore this. Why? Because here's a hypothesis I would like to put in place. Okay, as awareness rises, that the value we create will be increasingly dependent on how efforts fit into the larger context. Okay, you see, value. How is value determined? Do you know? How is value determined? We often say value is subjective. You know, oh, the subject is side. So our advertisers try to go out and try to tell us this is good for you, this is beautiful, you know, you're gonna look like, I don't know, Adriana Lima if you buy this makeup. Yeah, all right. That's what, because we assume value is subjective. Okay, but if I come to you now and I say, hey, this bottle of water is amazing, it's so great, it's not worth €1, you should give me 10 for it. Would you do that? If I show you Adriana Lima pouring that bottle over herself and making out with David Beckham, okay, would you give me 10 for that? No, probably not, right? Okay, now, you know why? Because it's not subjective. Value is not subjective. Okay, if I cut you out of this context and I put you in the smack middle of the Saharian desert, okay, and I show you Adriana Lima pouring it over and making out, and I say it's worth 100, will you take it after 3 days of suffering in the desert? Yes. Why? Because value is not subjective. It's not dependent on the subject. It's dependent on the context. Value is contextual. Okay, so as our awareness rises on the context, of course, in a world of egocentricity where we're ghettoized, okay, the context is subjective because it's only about me. But in the world where the awareness opens up, the context becomes bigger. Yeah, the context becomes bigger. Egocentric world has a context that is bigger than just the subject, so it's no longer just the same thing. So what context are we talking about? Okay, and now for those of you who maybe want to make a product tomorrow or a service, who want to go into marketing and product design and whatnot, okay, the next slides are for you. All right, let's explore together the kind of context that we're talking about. Okay, the contexts that are there. All right, so these impact dimensions. All right, let's first look at the immediate context. As a business, when we make a product or service, when we create an offering, let's first look at the immediate context of that. Okay, and you know, I run a management consultancy, so I love my 2x2 matrices. Yeah, they're just, you know, they mean business usually. Okay, because they're easy to grasp. So let's see what dimensions we have here. Okay, this is based on something called integral theory, which an American philosopher, Ken Wilber, has developed as a theory of holistic development. Okay, that can be transposed to a whole bunch of things. We're transposing it to business. Don't worry about that. I'm just telling you that if you want to read up on it. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 4 boxes, four immediate contexts that are relevant to a business when they develop the product, or relevant to our customer, to our participant. Okay, we have the dimensions: objective, subjective, so objective, looking at it, yeah, okay, subjective, looking as it, looking through it, experiencing it. Okay, we've got the item in itself, and we've got the system that goes with it. So let's look at what these contexts mean, okay, or what they are in fact. All right, let's start with objective and item. Okay, looking at it and the item. All right, the first context as a business that you need to consider when you make a product, okay, the first context of your customer, of your business, all right, is what we call the job to be done. Yeah, the job to be done. What is it that your product does, okay, that helps your customer achieve something? So what does the product actually do for your customer? Right? Water quenches my thirst. Job to be done, thirst. Okay, that's the objective, the measurable stuff. Okay, economic students, have you read Adam Smith? Yes, yes. Do you know Adam Smith's idea of value? We have value in exchange and use value. Okay, this is your use value. You know, okay, but what does it do? Yeah, that question. That's that context. The job to be done. Okay, or the job to do. The thing your product does for your customer. Okay, what does it help it to do? What does it help it to improve? How does it help? How does it facilitate something for it? What does it enable your customer to? That's the first context. Okay, can I open this and drink it? It's 100 quid this one, you know, so. Okay. Okay, then you guys here in this space, you will know and appreciate the next one because this is big in the digital age. Okay, we've got this obvious, right? Your product has to do something, has to have some form of use to it. Okay, but that's not where it stops, guys. A lot of business actually stops right there. You can see this in the tech world. You know, they just worry about, or engineers love to do this. Okay, it works, finished. But that's not all that's relevant to us. Okay, in the immediate context to the product that we design, the immediate context of our customer. All right, let's continue with this. It's not just important what it does, it's also important how we experience what it does. It's also important how we experience what it does. The subjective, individual level. How do we experience what it does? Can you think of a firm, of a company that until recently did really well with this? One that's really famous, biggest tech company in the world. I don't know if they're still, but I think. We're just tech computers, so we're not going to know. Say again? We're just hating the company, so we're not. You do? Okay. Well, you know, I'm going to join you in about 6 months' time when they come up with a new products and they suck like the last ones did. You know, but. You're a fanboy. Yeah. Yes. What? transitioning into something else. Yeah. So, but I want to say Google, but they're really not there yet. You know. Okay. So thank you, Google, for hang up. All right. So the experience, right? I mean, that's what UI, you know, user interface and user experience design is all about. That's huge in the tech world, huge in the digital world. Okay. How do people experience the thing we do? That's what designers do. Yeah. Industrial designers, product designers. They don't just make it pretty. They try to make it useful, and they try to make the experience of the use great. You know, how do you feel as a user? What happens to you? Okay, you may be hating Apple here, but really that is behind Apple's success. That they're not innovative at all. You know, they don't have the newest technologies at all. You know, that's all just marketing. What makes what used to make the difference with them, you know, I'm still rooting for them, but I think it's over. Okay, is the experience design. Okay, all right. Now again, customers are growing more aware. So what else will they care about? This is still quite subjective, you know. What does it do for me? How do I experience it? But with the rising awareness, part of the context you need to consider now when you design a product, okay, objective system, is the question of resources. What is the thing made of? Okay? What's its life cycle? Okay? What's going to happen with it when you dispose it? What are you going to do with the waste that it produces? All right? Yeah? These things are becoming important. This is packaged in plastic. Yeah. In how many conferences on green culture do you think am I gonna get stick for drinking water out of a plastic bottle? Pretty much everywhere. Yeah. These are recycled. See, you're pointing it out. You even know this, right? You even know this. That's because this is becoming more important. We're asking these questions now. Okay. What's my shirt made of? Oh, ethically sourced hemp. Awesome, I'll buy it. Ethical fashion, you know, that's purely about materials and production processes. Okay, that's right here. Okay, product life cycle, the way it's been produced, the way we got the materials, what kind of materials are right there. So these are things to consider in your context. Okay, the other thing to consider, and this you will relate to, because again, you guys are here at Digitalisme, okay, is subjective and system is the question of community. Okay, it's the question of community. We live in an interconnected world. You know, I don't want to buy a product and just be isolated. You know, I don't want to be participating in a system and be isolated. I want to be part of something. I want to have a feeling of belonging. I want to have shared experiences, okay? I want to buy into the vision of the product that I buy. Have you heard of the network Elo? It's an alternative to Facebook. Have you heard of them? Okay. They basically, you know, everyone who signed up for it is a beta tester for them, you know? And what's the whole point? Why would anyone switch over? Because let's face it, still the platform's not really that useful or not that easy to use. But why would anyone switch over? What's the big pitch? No ads and privacy. They say, we respect you. That's our vision. We dream of a social network without ads and lots of privacy, right? That's important to us. We want to buy into the vision of the product and the service that we're buying. We want to get this feeling of belonging. We want to believe in the thing that we're getting, okay? So this stuff here, okay, this stuff here is what we call the immediate context in your design. The immediate context, okay? The immediate context. In the digital age and the information age, okay, you need to consider the immediate context when you design your product. That will help you to develop conscious offerings, okay? It's about conscious offerings, this. Okay, it's a way to design conscious offerings, all right? Okay. But that's not all there is to it, is it? You know, this is really, if you get a good designer 20 years ago, they're going to tell you exactly that. That's not all there is to it. That's not all we care for, okay? There's an extended, because we have the product we make, okay, the service we make, but then there's us as a business as a whole, as a system effectively embedded into the larger thing, okay? So we have the immediate context, but we also, okay, we also have an extended context. Remember, we said a business doesn't operate in a vacuum. All this stuff right now is directly relevant to the business, but that's not all there is, okay? There's also the stuff that we tangentially touch upon. That's important, okay? And this is this extended context. And we need to consider the extended context as well when we try to design a conscious offering, okay? So let's look again, because it's 2x2 matrix. Okay, let's look at the dimensions we've got, the metrics. Again, objective, subjective, that's almost the same. It's exactly the same. Individual and collective, that's the same. Yeah, item, system. Okay, one unit, many units. All right. So, what do we have here? First, let's start with the top right. Okay, we need to ask, how does our product affect economy, innovation, progress of our system? okay, of our collective system that is our economy. Okay, so how do you think betting scores in that? Yeah, okay. The distribution of wealth, yeah, the well-being of our economy. How does it contribute towards innovation? Sometimes we call this also the scientific dimension, all the stuff that can be measured effectively on a collective level. Okay, so this also means for a business, you know, is it economically sustainable? Is it a fair deal for the customer? These kind of things. All right, let's move over here now. Same order as before. All right, the subjective individual level. We also must ask, how does our product, our operations, yeah, that which we're offering, affect the well-being of our customers, of our participants? Okay, we had an interesting discussion before about games, apps, gaming apps, and some of the mechanisms that they employ to get people to play them. Effectively, they're trying to trigger addiction habits in people. You know, there's a South Park episode on this, actually, if you want to watch it, recently came out. Yeah, some games, online mobile games, actually employ the same mechanisms, okay, that gambling employs in order to get you hooked on them and make time pass quickly. Okay, how do you think that, you know, if you wake up 15 years from now and you have finally cracked Candy Crush, you know, and then you put the phone away, you're like, whoa, what happened? You know, you look in the mirror, how would you feel? Yeah, I'm exaggerating a bit, but I'm saying the question, the well-being, is this good for me? Again, food is a beautiful example. You know, people are becoming more and more conscious, asking, should I eat that? I mean, it looks lovely, it tastes great, you know, it fills me up, it tastes great, you know, it's cake, okay, right? It's made of the finest ingredient, but should I actually eat that? Is that good for me? Yeah, yeah, that's, you know, the well-being, how does it affect our well-being, all right? But not only that, as a business, we're embedded into our environment. We're not only embedded into our environment, we're dependent on our environment. This doesn't just mean ecology, it means our cities, our urban designs, okay? The air that we breathe in the towns that we live in, all right? So how are operations affecting this? Okay, how are our operations affecting this? If I'm polluting the town, you know, in which I'm selling my widget, you know, how long are you going to put up with that before you go on the barricades, right? Back in the day, probably for a while, you know, with that increased feeling of participation, increased feeling of entitlement and responsibility to the way things run, because we have the flat hierarchies, thanks to network revolution, it's evolving this. Okay, probably you won't take it for long. You'll tweet about it, you'll complain about it, you'll get people moving, you'll probably make the next Coney video. Okay, something along those lines. All right? And lastly, in the extended context, okay, we must consider how we affect the culture, the collective values, okay? The way we see ourselves in the world, right? How we affect that with our product, okay? I want to tell you a little anecdote about this. My sister is married to a wonderful Moroccan man, and we once visited his family in Morocco. It's a long time ago, 2002 or something, I don't know. Anyway, we were watching TV with his family, Moroccan television, and we were having food, you know, couscous, whatever we had, I don't remember, you know, and it's a local program, and then there's an ad coming up. It's Claudia Schiffer for L'Oreal, you know, working her hair. And everyone in the room, the ladies, everyone in the room just starts laughing. They're just laughing, shaking and laughing. And my sister and I are looking around, and like, what's happening? Why are they laughing? And we ask my brother-in-law, why are they laughing? And he's laughing as well. He's cracking up. The man lives in New York. He's cracking up and says, they're laughing because she's so thin. How can she be so thin? It's funny to them. It's not even, you know, oh, haha, you're so thin. No, they actually laugh their heads off. How can she be so thin? Okay? And then we look at that and say, oh, that's awesome. I want to be like that. Yeah, that's because the companies that work in that field are creating a particular culture with their offering. Okay, and we're becoming more and more aware of this. Yeah, we're becoming more. There's actually a huge discussion going on right now in the gaming world about misogyny, sexism in the gaming world. Huge. It's called Gamersgate. If you look it up, you know, gaming industry is huge. Yeah, so this stuff is coming up. Okay, and we're challenging the culture, and we, you know, so as a business, as someone that works out there, as entrepreneurs, we need to be mindful of how we have an impact on all these things. Okay. In other words, we need to consider this as well, okay? When we consider all of those, that's when we're looking at a conscious offering, okay? So, when you guys get hired to work for a company in marketing, in design, when you start your own business, okay? I urge you, I invite you, okay, if you wanna be successful, not just in the moment, but through time, to think about these dimensions, okay? That said, a little disclaimer, a little word of warning here, okay? This is not about doing the perfect thing. It's not about eliminating all negative impact. That's actually not, I would say that's pretty difficult, close to impossible, you know? But it's about the right tendency in all of these, the right intention in all of these. Okay, does that make sense to you? Yeah, cool. All right, so if we take this and we say, let's design for that, let's go for that, and let's do it in a way that's sustainable, let's do it in a way that's good, you know, let's do it in a way that people will appreciate, where it matches this ecocentric awareness that's arising, okay? Then let's ask how to do that right. How to do it right. How to do exactly that right. Okay? How do you think we can do this right? What do we need to consider? What's the right way to, what's good? What's good? What's good culture? What's good for the environment? You know? What's good well-being for people? Should they be thin, thick, slim, tall, short? Happy? What makes you happy, my dear? Exactly, right? The point is, okay, this is one of the questions where sustainability trips up, okay, a lot. Because we like to tell each other, this is the right way to do it. Trust me, because that's how I feel, okay? But actually, that's one of this difficult, is there even a right way to do it that we can discern from ahead of time? Can we really predict? This is based on the prediction logic of the mechanical metaphor. Can we actually predict how things are going to turn out, right or wrong? Yeah, you know, if that were the case, we all would be married happily, right? Yeah, not divorced 3 times. Not divorced 3 times. Okay, so the point is this: we got to divorce ourselves from this idea of predictability. It's not predictable, actually. We have to have the right intent and then try it out, right? In this process of trying out, we need to be mindful as we're trying out about the following, okay? Are we? Because as we create stuff, yeah, we break things, right? You want to make a table, what do? Wooden table, you cut down a beautiful tree and you create one, okay? So in creation, there's always a process of destruction as well. It goes hand in hand, you know? We inhale air, we inhale oxygen, we exhale CO2, right? We break down, trees break it down for us, we put them back together. Destruction, creation of the molecule, okay? It's an interchange. It's not inherently bad to destroy existing resources. The question is, are they being destroyed in an act of creation, or is our act of creation actually happening in an act of destruction? So are we talking about creative destruction or destructive creation? Okay, this is what you need to be mindful of as you move through your design process. Okay, are we creatively destroying, or are we destroying creatively? Okay, creation and destruction, this, or creation as a function of destruction. Okay, so how do you know whether you're doing one or the other? Again, okay, there's no blueprint. I can't tell you that's the blueprint. But there are 2, if you like, or 2 questions you can ask yourself algorithmically. That's it. Heuristically is the academic term for that. Okay, so you can ask yourself heuristically. Yeah, you can ask yourself over and over and over and over. Okay, the first issue that we need to consider when we're talking about this, which one of these is, by the way, this is red. Okay, yeah, that or that. Okay. The first issue we need to consider is, as we are destroying to create, okay, are we maintaining the basis for this movement of destruction and creation to happen? Are we maintaining the foundation on which our movement is based? Or are we destroying it? Do you understand that? Okay, I'll give you an example. Have you heard of this experiment on the St. Matthew Islands, the reindeer experiment? No? It's a beautiful experiment. I think this is an island outside, I think it's in the Pacific Ocean, or Indian Ocean, I'm not sure. Okay, anyway, island, it was unpopulated, beautiful conditions there for reindeer. Perfect conditions, actually. So a bunch of scientists figures, let's see how the reindeer population will evolve in a space which is perfectly, has all the resource for it, lots of food, and no natural predators, no natural threats to them. So they imported a whole bunch of reindeer, okay? They imported a whole bunch of reindeer, and they observed them for a while. What do you think happened? And I don't have a whiteboard now, otherwise I'd show you, but I have a whiteboard, but don't worry about it. Okay, so what do you think happened? So, imagine you and your beloved partner are dropped off on the perfect island, okay, with enough to eat, no one around to bother you, okay, great shelter. What are you gonna do? First, you're gonna make love. That's what I would do, okay? So you end up you end up reproducing. And you create a little family, and you say, this is just perfect. This is a great place to have kids. Let's have a few more. So the first thing they did, amazing, they started reproducing. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, growth. And then what happened? They actually didn't destroy the island. You know, what happened was suddenly that growth, boom, crashes. Where there is a population of, let's say, 1,000 reindeer, suddenly it contracts, boom, to 30. Okay, these numbers I'm making up. I don't remember the actual numbers, but it's drastic. Okay. So you then have had a constant period down there, okay, short period where it just stayed the way, and then it started growing again, growing, and again, bang, okay? Those cycles, I think, happened 3 times until the scientists observed that it went up to a certain point and then stabilized there and didn't move, okay? So somehow the reindeer were intelligent enough to work out, wait a minute, well, we are still trying to work out, wait a minute, I think our growth and our consumption is kind of destroying the basis of this evolutionary, of this reproductive process that we're performing here. Okay, why? Because of course it's exactly what you said. Okay, they ate up all the food. There was nothing left. There were suddenly too many animals, not enough food, and it was a mass extinction. Okay, so the first issue we need to think of is: are we maintaining in our creative destruction? Are we maintaining the basis? Okay, of this movement, or are we destroying it? Another example would be fishing. Okay, when you fish, you got to be mindful not to fish the full population, otherwise there's no one that can reproduce, right? Okay, this is true for trees, for forests, okay, and beyond. Okay, the second issue we need to think of is we need to think of the direction of this movement. Now, let's look at this. Okay, creative destruction is a process of change. I take this, I change it. I take that, I change it, I destroy it, I make something new of it, okay? Change in itself doesn't have a direction. What do we call change? A whole bunch of acts of change, transformation, that all have the same direction. When we put them together, do you know what we call that? Process, development. We call that development, okay? When we take change and we adjust it, one act of change after another towards the same direction, we call that development. So, we'll talk about that in a moment, but that's the difference between opportunism and vision, yeah? It's just kind of, wherever I can change something, the other one kind of builds one after another, okay? So, the other issue we need to consider is this process of change that we are producing, that we are involved in as entrepreneurs, as business people, as marketeers, you know, as designers, as architects, okay? What is its direction? So what is it aiming at, and do we like it? That's the quality bit. Do we believe that's a good thing? Okay? Right? This guy is changing, but he's not really thinking about the direction or the quality of it. Yeah? Can you see that? Yeah? Okay, so what's the name of this talk again? Green culture and innovation. So we haven't talked about green culture at all, have we? How much time have I used to? Oh, God. No. In fact, guys, what we've just talked about, okay, all of this, that's actually what the green movement is all about, okay? The green movement is all about that, okay? Ensuring that the acts of the productive acts of our society, of us as individuals, of our businesses, okay, of humanity as a whole, are, when you add them up, creative acts and not destructive acts. That's what it is about, okay? That's what it is about, all right? And now, when I say green, what do you guys think? Right? Trees, right? Okay. We talked about context just now before, all these different contexts, okay? Did you see trees in every single one of those boxes? Yeah, and yet I'm saying green is about all of that. We use the word green only as a metaphor. Why? Because the most supreme, sustainable, evolutionary system that we know of in this universe is nature, is planet Earth. We haven't seen something like it yet. We've landed on Mars, not quite the same. Okay, we've landed on the moon, apparently. Okay, not quite the same. Just kidding, we know that. I've seen the documentaries. I don't believe it's seen. Okay, right? Okay, so what we need to understand, this is really, really important to me. You know, it's so important to me that for a while I stopped using this term. Okay, because I thought it's a problem. But actually, I like it because you know what? We need to learn to respect this amazing system that is our planet, you know, with its beautiful trees. Yeah. Okay. But what's really important to me, what I hope you take away from this right now, is that green is beyond ecology. It's about that full context that we talked about. Yeah. But it's about creative destruction. It's about making sure that we are ending up with creation, not just with destruction. Okay. On all of the dimensions we had up there. So if I make a product, okay, a gambling product, for example, that weakens my customer, that destroys his family life. Yeah, I met a Thai woman once in Germany in a restaurant. She was running a restaurant. She asked me, "Are you German?" And I said, "No, I'm from Montenegro," because, you know, in Germany I'm from Montenegro and here I'm from Germany. You know, and she said to me, "Ah, you are good men, not like our men. They just gamble." And I said, "Why? Where's your husband?" She said, "Gambling." You know, I work 24/7. He never does anything. Right? Okay. If you are that person making a gambling thing, all right, are you helping to create or are you helping to destroy value? Right? And I'm not judging it. I'm just putting those questions out there for you as people who tomorrow, yeah, or in a week's time, or in a month's time, in a year's time, will be in the positions where you can make these decisions, where you choose how you use your energy and your potential and your time. Okay? And what are you going to invest it into? Right? Okay? So green is about this. Yeah? And is about that on all levels. Our awareness, our approach, and our actions. It's not enough to say, "Oh, look, someone left garbage there. Awful." Is it? Yeah? Or to say, "Oh, look, someone left garbage there. Give me a lighter." Plastic bag. That's not good either, right? Okay? We're all laughing. I think it's not good. To me, that's not great. Okay? We need to do this awareness, approach, and action. That's probably the best thing to do with it. Maybe I can make a shirt out of that, you know, that plastic bag. Yeah, not just throw it away. Okay, so economic students, business is all about making money. How does it sound to you in terms of money? Bad, right? Damn. See, my whole discourse broken down. It's an economic burden, isn't it? Massive economic burden. Okay. Do you think it's bad? Actually, think it's bad? Yeah. Yes.
I don't want to be a bad guy in this whole story.
Go for it.
Yeah, I have to say, so people will accept changes and all those facts if they have benefits from them. But
It only works on short terms. In long terms, they will be without customers, so they can make money in short term, but long term, they will lose their customers and they will make no money.
but people want to be satisfied now, and they aren't like looking for.
You bring in the dimension of time. It's very good. Let me cater to both. Okay, let's go back up here. Okay. You're getting a job done for your customer, otherwise don't do it. You're making the experience great, otherwise don't do it. Okay? You're helping them be part of something, otherwise don't do it. Okay? And you're doing it for resources that they can appreciate. Yeah? Otherwise don't do it. Does the customer benefit here? This is the blueprint for the customer to benefit, actually. If you don't do that, your customer is not benefiting. And you know what? There is business out there where the customer doesn't benefit at all, and you still give them the money. Okay? And you and I will wake up to that pretty soon and say, that, I'm not participating in it. This is exactly what you're saying. Okay, so you're right. We need to have the short-term cover. You know, the beautiful thing about this we need to be clear about this. When I talk about a revolution, okay? Can I talk about Tito in this room?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, my father in Germany, our flat, when you walk through the door, you know what's the first thing you see? Okay, so some people join the revolution early and stay long, and some never join. Yeah, all right. We're not talking about every single human being on this planet. Yeah, we're talking about a trend that all the things I mentioned to you before: participation, openness, awareness. All of you are affected by it, right? All of you would agree to that. I saw you all nodding and say, "Yeah, that's true." So you probably would go for something more like this. And before the lady from TV asked me, she asked me, "What's great about Montenegro?" I said, "You guys," And then she asked me, what's the worst thing about, what's the thing that holding us back the most? And I said to her, did you hear it? What did I say?
No, I just assumed that you said you guys as well.
Aha, it is, yeah. More specifically though, because that wouldn't have made a lot of sense. I told her cynicism and a lack of belief in your own potentials, okay? I sat at a dinner party a couple nights ago with a guy who told me, people are bad. I asked him, are you bad? No, but people are bad. How does that hypothesis hold, my friend? You know, is your girlfriend bad? No. Is your father bad? No. Which people are you talking about? Right? You're right. But would you buy something that is openly, that you can clearly see is harming you or your environment? Yeah. Would you do that over and over? Okay. At the moment, assuming you get the same benefit from two products, you know, you're probably already in the conscious department, and you will be moving towards it because that's where we're headed. Okay. And on the question of short-term, long-term, and what was it that you said again? Help me.
People try, they tend to satisfy their needs at the moment, but as well as they realize it's not good for them on the long term,
Yeah.
they will stop using it.
Guys, I watch South Park. I like that show a lot. I think it's the smartest show on the planet. They recently had a wonderful episode. I forgot which one exactly it was, but it talked about, it was called Free is Freemium. It was about the gaming, actually, that's the one. And there was a great scene because it said, oh, you know, everyone is manipulating the customers. And there was like an alcohol representative said, we're not. And then it cuts out and it shows alcohol advertisements, like cut together. And it's basically just sex, money, fun, sex, money, fun, this, that. It shows these images about, you know, and then at the end it shows a guy hanging over, you know, vomit running down, said, please drink responsibly. Yeah, after about a minute of, yeah. Okay, so we're waking up to that stuff. I mean, you know, South Park's making fun of it. You know, so if a business, and I'm underlying what you're saying, you know.
People once, twice, or 3 times, but not for the long term, once again.
I'm with you on that. I agree. And you know, this is my advice as someone who advises startups, who advises companies that want to go into the market. I advise you to think in those terms. Yeah. If you can create real value, why pretend you're creating value? Okay. In fact, I'm going to get to that in a moment because we ask, is this economic burden? Most people from economics will agree with you and say it's a burden. But I tell you what, not necessarily. It can be a burden if you approach it the wrong way. If you approach it superficially, it can be a burden. Yeah. If you approach it superficially, say, oh, I have here the latest Hummer H4 with 6 exhausts, and you know it takes 60 liters per kilometer. You know, we have to make it sustainable, guys. Yeah. Then it's a burden because it's a cost. But if you embed this wider awareness, okay, into your process of innovation, effectively you make your product the manifestation, the expression of this heightened awareness. Okay, then you might be looking at disruptive innovation. Okay, and I'm going to tell you in a moment what kind of. So the assumption here is a bigger radius of awareness actually also means a bigger radius of possibilities. So if we don't take advantage of these possibilities, then yes, you know, most likely we're doing what others are doing for cheaper. But if we start taking advantage of these possibilities, then suddenly we're looking at innovation. Okay, so what kind of possibilities are there? Prototypes, just 2, very simple. Okay, very basic. Let's start with 2. Okay, the first one is you can start challenging the status quo. As we raise our awareness, we can start asking, wait a minute, is this what I want for myself? You know, is that what I want for myself? Okay. My family's from Woolsey, and you can imagine when I was 14, my father said it's time to marry someone from next door. Okay. And I thought, yes, I'm a proud man from this country, I will do. And then with 15, I thought, is that really what I want? Because my awareness starts, you know, growing up, you know. I have to warn you, Maria knows, I have a reputation for, as a lecturer, to talk a lot about dating. Okay, so, you know, those are my examples come from the world. I figure everyone can relate to that. Yeah, so, okay, with this open awareness, okay, you can start to challenge the status quo. Okay, that's not a hypothesis, that's not even a theory, that's happening. Okay, do you know what this thing is? What is that? Yeah? Which status quo is this challenging? Why is this up there as an example? That's the Tesla, yeah? Yeah, that's the Tesla electric car. It's a fully electric car. Elon Musk, the entrepreneur. Say again?
We brought it here about a couple of months.
You did? Beautiful, beautiful. And so, you know, there are people that are talking about it and saying, oh, there's this wrong with that wrong with that. But again, you know, give 10 critiques an idea and they have something to do, but let them sit around the table with an idea, nothing happens. Yeah. Sustainability is not about getting it perfectly right. Sustainability is about the right intent. Okay. What status quo is this challenging? That a sports car can be electric, that it can be sexy. Electric cars are unsexy. Usually the boxed engineers drive them, you know, they're single, so there's no second seat there. Okay. Right. Driving through the city. Okay. You know, yeah, this is really, it's not boring, it's not niche. He says, this is the car. We can drive that. It's beautiful, it's fast, it's sexy. It's for more people than one. You can have a family with it, or girlfriend with it. Okay? So this is one example, just an image to show you what you can do, challenge the status quo. I had earlier in the talk today, I talked about challenging status quo on urban level. I mentioned the project that I did with my students at the RCA, or better, a challenge that the student received and what the student made out of it. You know that one already. Okay, where we challenged and we said 50% of your city is underutilized. It's a complete waste of time. In London, for example, very expensive real estate, not a lot of space. 50% is wasted. You know, and what? Yeah. It took him a while to realize what we're talking about is roads. The roads, a complete waste of space. If I challenge the assumption that we need roads to drive around, that's the status quo. We need roads. They connect us from A to B. But do they have to connect us the way they do? Do they have to connect us the way they do? Do they have to be overground where the pollution can go up? Do they have to be made of asphalt where we can't feel the earth? Yeah? Do they have to be absolutely everywhere? And the student produced a beautiful concept where he redirected the traffic underground, so effectively through the existing underground system, okay? Fitted those tunnels with traps for the CO2 so that the heat of the CO2 can be used to heat up the town and generate energy for the town, okay? And up on top, he planted trees everywhere. This is a concept. It didn't really happen. London is not full of trees, if you saw my TV interview this morning, okay? But up top, trees and electric rail and grass, okay? And fresh air, right? That's a form of challenging status quo, yeah? So as you challenge the assumptions, as you raise your awareness, you suddenly become aware of things that we're doing, how we're doing that might be less than optimal, actually terrible, you know, quite silly, you know, okay? In that moment, that's the status quo, that's what we're used to. You know, Natasha told me today that the Incas, what was it? Incas, Mayans? Aztecs, I don't know. They had all these innovations, but they didn't have the wheel. Now they were playing football, they knew what a ball is, you know. They had circles, so they knew what a circle is. And I was saying jokingly to her, I guess no one thought about putting it up, you know? Yeah. But I mean, I'm saying this in a mocking way. Of course, you know, I have no clue why and what. But the point is, okay, often when we are stuck in the status quo, the stuff that is right in front of us, we don't see. Okay? Until our awareness kind of goes up and say, hey, wait a minute, that's kind of odd. Okay? And I'll give you a few more examples in a moment for that. All right? So there's an opportunity there. As you raise your awareness and you start to design for those dimensions, you have the opportunity to challenge the status quo and come up with new ways of doing things. Yeah? And that new ways of doing things, that's another opportunity right here. Okay? So it's not just about challenging the status quo, so challenging existing assumptions. It's about challenging also existing processes. Okay? I'll give you an example. Food Loop. All right? Food Loop is a venture in London, run by the head of the sustainability department at the RCA. It's a for-profit venture. It's a beautiful story. They've isolated a council estate, so it's a project for social housing, so people that basically are in difficult economic situations, they live in that housing, okay? That house, it's a big block, right? 60s building, very much, it looks very socialist, you know? They produce a lot of food waste there, you know, so people produce a lot of food waste. And what Claire said to herself, she said, well, food waste is actually really good material. You know, it can be turned into compost. You know, and that's fertilizer. You know, like composted, it can become fertilizer. It's very useful. It's not waste at all. Actually, these people, they shouldn't waste stuff. You know, can they really afford to waste the resources that are in their hands? You know, so what she did is she set up the system called Food Loop. Okay, they designed a machine they call the Rocket. It's just a big metal machine, okay, that churns food waste at a certain speed, okay, which releases heat and effectively helps the food waste to compost quicker, okay, it just composts food waste quicker. It takes about 2 weeks, I think, for it to become beautiful fertilizer. So what they do is, okay, they collect the food waste in the building, I think twice a week. They will bring it downstairs, drop it into the rocket processes it, okay, spits out fertilizer. They package up the fertilizer, okay? They use the fertilizer to fertilize a vegetable garden that they have on the roof now, that they've set up on the roof. And the people there can grow their own veggies, okay? Which in London, if you know, food's very expensive. And good food is even more expensive, okay? And it's true that a lot of people cannot afford a healthy diet, yeah? So they have this thing up there, they grow their veggies, and the fertilizer they have in excess, they sell, okay? But not only is it a finished look, so they take waste, all right, and they turn it into a resource, yeah? In fact, the next slide says it. Claire likes to say, waste is good resources in the hands of the wrong people. They don't know what to do with it. But what's cool about this project, who do you think collects the food waste? The people right there, the people that live there. Who do you think grows the potatoes and bananas and bananas? The tomatoes, that's what I'm looking for. You say tomato, I say tomato. But I'm going to Colombia in 2 weeks, so I'm thinking tropical, you know. So, okay, so who do you think grows the veggies up on the roof? The people that live there, okay? They're not consumers, they're participants in the system. So, new way of doing things. They're running the whole thing, yeah, with the people that are benefiting from it. What do you think that means for the costs? Yeah? You know what they do with the things they sell off? You know, remember economic dimension? Yeah? You know what they do? For every bit they sell off, okay, as the people work and contribute here, they get little marks, like food, what they call, I think they call it food credit, okay? And for every fertilizer they sell off and make a profit, the money gets distributed across the people in the building, parts of it. So the people earn with it on top of it, okay? That's unheard of. That's really innovative, okay? So, almost done, guys, I think. Okay, another example, BioBee. This guy is a guy from London. Again, it's a London venture. He's found a way, apparently a very simple way, with a bit of compression, okay, to turn waste coffee grounds, so the stuff you use to make your espressos and your Turkish coffee, okay, into biodiesel and biomass pellets. Now, this guy has worked out how to take something that is a waste product, okay, a waste product for cafes across, and if you've been to London, you know there's maybe 50 million cafes in every part of town. It's absolutely, because life's expensive and we all are unemployed, okay, and we all just love to sip our coffee, okay, so worked out how to do that. So what does he do? He actually now, economically challenging, he actually gets paid by cafes now to pick up the crap, the coffee, okay, goes around, picks up all this coffee waste, because they don't have to get rid of it, picks up all this coffee waste, transforms it into something he can sell off at a good margin, okay, and that is ecologically, it's not perfect. Biodiesel is not solar, but it's one step forward, right? That's what we're looking for. One step forward, development, the right direction, okay? Because we've been going on and on. I talked about this earlier today with Natasha. I don't think I'm going to go into it now because it's going to take a while to explain it, but you get the copy of these slides so you can Google this. That's the link to a beautiful venture that is trying to disrupt the advertising industry, okay? Anyway, what this gives us, it gives us the opportunity to rethink and innovate the way we live and work together. It's not just about making a product. We're at a point in time with this network revolution where we can rethink the way we live and work together. This picture was produced by the German government, okay? It is a image of a project of the Fraunhofer Institute called Morgenstadt, this project, Morning City or Tomorrow City, okay? Where they have imagined and modeled and designed, completely designed and even built a real life model of it, okay, of the city of the future, yeah? And I mean, again, it's something you can explore, but it's a really interesting project. So all of this is your job, okay? And that brings me back to what we were saying before. You, entrepreneur, guys, entrepreneur doesn't just, we'll talk about that in a moment, okay? But entrepreneur is not just someone who wants to make, all of you entrepreneurs, whether you know it or not, and I'll tell you in a moment why, okay? What this also means is, okay, enough with opportunism. Enough with the lack of vision, okay? Enough with indifference to the context and having no meaningful direction. That's a definition. That's a definition of unsustainable. That's a definition of ungreen, okay? Enough of that, okay? I say all of you entrepreneurs, look at this, right? Entre, between, prendre, to take. That's what the word actually means, to take the position between. The position between what? The position between how things are and how things could be. So if you are involved in innovation, you're an entrepreneur, okay? In that sense of the word, okay? And you know what's really important here? Can we be entrepreneurial opportunists? Does that make a lot of sense? Jumping back and forth, back and forth. In this process, you know what's key? Your vision. Okay? Your vision. The vision is key. So let's move away from opportunism and let's start practicing visionary pragmatism. What's that? We're conscious of our context and we're contributing towards meaningful transformation. Okay? If we go for this, what we then have is we no longer have the dichotomy between purpose and profit, as if those two are Mars and Venus trying to fight it out. You know, thanks to the network revolution, purpose now can be the profit-producing thing. Okay, I met this a guy who met this entrepreneur from Canada, Andreas Souvalitris is his name. Okay, he said the cool thing about the Tesla car is that Tesla doesn't need a CSR department, corporate social responsibility, because Tesla, the car, the product is its CSR department. You understand? Yeah, you don't need a sustainability campaign because your product is the campaign, right? And there's opportunity in this. Okay? Okay, great. So that's your job as creative leaders. Okay? How many of you economics students think you're creative leaders? Thank you. Okay? Take it from me as someone who teaches that stuff. You are creative leaders, right? Time to start thinking in those ways. Time to get rid of the cynicism. Time to get rid of this. I asked in May, I gave a lecture at your department, and I asked the students, the 21, I asked them 21, 22, who can make a difference in Montenegro? One girl, I think, put her hand up and said, the next generation. What about you? Okay? So here's your job as creative leaders. Okay? Your job as creative leaders, you can't read, you can read it. Your job is to shape the social reality through the visions that you offer to the world and through your entrepreneurial, marketing, advertising, you know, through those efforts, achieve social accord. So people say, that's the vision I want to buy into. That's a good vision. Okay? It's a conscious one across. Because as you do this, I invite you, I challenge you to practice not just green as a concept, but green as a culture. Okay? Practice green values, practice your visions green, and practice your awareness green. Open up. Green the way we defined it before, not just ecology, the whole picture. Okay? So, what that means in conclusion. If we combine green culture with you, in this country, in this space, that is perfect for it, like a beautiful virgin piece of land that's waiting to be worked, okay? You can transform conscious visions into holistically sustainable reality. Don't wait for your government to do it. Don't wait for your parents to do it. Don't wait for the next generation to do it. You do it. Okay? That said, do you like that? Does that sound all right to you? Is that something, is that a call to action? Yay, let's go. Okay? So, Vanya, can I share our project that we're doing here? Okay. See, it's there, so imagine you would have said no now. Okay. Okay. Vesna here and Vanya as Vesna's support locally and myself, we're working on something called the Green Culture Fest, which is going to take place here in Montenegro. Okay, it's effectively it's not a conference, it's a fest. Today on TV they asked us what's the difference between fest and festival. Let's not get into that, but it's a fest. Okay, it's not a festival either, and I'll show you the more why. Okay, the aim is to organize something, an event where we cultivate, experience, and promote green culture through the creative industries. That's you as well. It's you as well. That's not just art and history and theater and music. That's you as well. The entrepreneurs, the marketeers, the advertisers, okay? The decision makers, the strategists, that's you as well. You're creating something that makes you creative, okay? So what's the Green Culture Fest gonna be? 3 days, okay, 3 days, 3 full days, okay, of inspiring talks, and this is not a conference, hands-on workshops. Actual workshops where we come together, not workshops as in, look, this is what I do. Now you can go home and try it. No, workshops as in hands-on, okay? All right? In a community where you get not only to watch, but to create, to try out, to experiment, okay? Do this not just with your own, but transdisciplinary, with people from architecture, with people from here, from there, from everywhere, okay? Different mindsets, designers, architects, artists, economists, okay? You get to do all of this in a positive atmosphere, and you get to work on real problems and real solutions, okay? In the green perspective. And the best thing about all of that, it's going to happen in Montenegro, okay? Yeah, it's going to happen in Montenegro, September 2015, yeah? And you're all invited. Okay, so my call to action to you, before I finish, okay? Call to action to you. If you like what you hear today, don't just take it in, go to bed, wake up the next morning and think, ooh, what's the new song that was the #1 that I like so much? Make it yours. Make it yours, okay? And practice it. Start practicing. How can you start practicing it? Start with awareness, okay? Start with your approach. Small steps, one step at a time, but start practicing. And call to action. Come, join us at the Green Culture Fest, okay? Let's make something together, all right? Thank you very much. By the way, my name, that's my mobile number, that's my actually mobile phone number, so please don't call me at 3 in the morning. Okay? That's my email address, that's my personal email address, that's not my work email address, okay? That's my personal website, that's my firm, but anyway, you've got those two. If you have questions, thoughts, ideas, motivations, feedback, don't be shy, get in touch. Okay, it will be a pleasure to hear from you. You will have to tell me your name and how we know each other, okay? So I know who I'm dealing with, but please do. Okay, it would be a pleasure to hear from you. Yeah, and I don't say that. I say that from the heart. Okay, so don't be shy. Is that mine?
Yeah. Grab a seat. Okay, so the idea was for Habib to have a short presentation, and after that to have sort of a Q&A session, because we know you guys sometimes tend to be shy and don't ask enough questions. So now I'll get a chance, but first I have to say something, because you talked a lot about South Park, and since I'm a huge South Park fan, I have to ask you, do you know that if we had Eric Cartman in the audience, he would call you a tree-hugging hippie?
I've been waiting for that moment to happen. He's my idol. To me, Eric Cartman is the Uber-entrepreneur, yeah. So anything he would call me, I'd take it as a gift, Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely. He probably would try to shoot me too.
You didn't talk about, but I want to touch upon. In your biography, when they ask you where are you from, you say that you basically don't belong to any country.
Yeah.
Now, if you could just say a few sentences about that, and then I will go on with my question.
Okay. For me, I'm born in Germany. Then I lived here the first 6 years of my life. Then I went back to Germany. With 15, I moved to the United States. Somewhere in between, Yugoslavia, the country that I belonged to back then, fell apart. And then I found myself in Germany, not really a German, in the US, certainly not an American, a Muslim name from the Balkan. What exactly are you? Where are you from? And it became clear to me that first and foremost, if I strip myself of all these labels, I'm a creature of this planet. The first time I touched down in Brazil, and I don't mean this in a fun way, I mean this in a really profound way, I felt at home. And I felt like this place is mine, I had never been there, So I say I don't belong to a country because I really don't. I belong to this earth. I belong to the people, as the people belong to me, as this earth belongs to me, And I love the different cultures that our borders include, the different languages. I think it's important we preserve them. I think it's important we cultivate all of that. But in terms of belonging, I think I'm all of the things. So, I'm Montenegrin, I'm German, I'm American, French, and whatever else you'd like to have in there. And I know you said short, but one more thing, the question of ancestry, you mentioned to me briefly before capoeira. Capoeira is all about ancestry. The question of ancestry, where do I come from? For me, especially during the Balkan Wars, the big question was, how far back do I go? 30 years, 50 years, 500 years, 700 years, 1,000 years? So the boundary is arbitrary, and I choose, because of the conflict that I've experienced around this question, I choose to just go all the way back and say, this is my home. Yeah.
We'll get back to capoeira, but the reason why I asked this, if you look at some of the leading environmentalists or economists who preach sustainable development or whatever, a lot of these people come from multicultural backgrounds, just like yourself.
Interesting.
Do you believe there's some connection there? Why do these people are so strongly for the green culture?
I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm afraid that I'll have to end up living in the forest one day and it's going to be gone then, Again, I think green is not a question of just nature and ecology. I think green is a question of awareness, So if you travel around a lot, and you are confronted with these difficult questions of identity early, then you challenge a lot of things about yourself that must do something to your radius of awareness, if nothing else. So that makes sense what you're saying, because I would assume that people that have grown, multicultural is not all beautiful. It's very difficult. It's very challenging, especially as a child. So as you all know in this country as well, I'm sure. So that does something to the awareness. So I guess it's easier to pick up these things. Yeah,
Okay,
but I wouldn't want to. Yeah.
We could talk a lot, but now first I want to give you a chance to ask questions. So come on.
I have a comment. You were telling about Claire Brass and the
Yeah.
Sustainability Department, Royal College of Art, and I just wanted to remind you and to say to all the others about great projects that were on the master's degree course, something like solar printer,
Yeah.
where the resource is sand, or application created for local community where they can make labels for food they produce and a lot of interesting things. So I would definitely suggest for everyone to look at Royal College of Art Sustainability, Sustain RCA. That's,
Yeah.
that's the exact name.
They do a fantastic job.
We had a chance to participate at the workshop at Green Culture Conference in Finland.
And in fact, Claire's number 2 is a guy from Belgrade, Dejan. So if you want to look them up and find out more about them, don't be shy. Just drop them a line. They're really wonderful and open. And yeah, thank you for that comment. That's wonderful. Yeah,
Really
yeah, they do a great job.
all of your students, of course.
Yeah, such as yourselves. Probably younger than you yourself. Yeah.
Come on, don't be shy.
Which meditation technique are you using, since I see you do great results?
Aha. Huh. I think it's not, okay. Are we still filming, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's 9:30. We're
Okay.
slowly crossing over into our
Okay.
so
Okay.
wait 15 more minutes
Okay.
and then you can talk about it.
Look, the most beautiful meditation technique that I have encountered so far is Vipassana meditation. Yeah, that's just very insight meditation, so pure observation. It's beautiful. My former business partner practices it regularly. If you think I have great results, you should check that guy out. It's mind-blowing. But I practice that, okay, and I'm very much into Sufism as a concept. So Sufist poetry and recitation and that kind of stuff. That's what I do. But it's a bit of a bric-a-brac. It's a mix. But when I sit down to meditate, it's Vipassana. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't. When I say I'm into Sufism, I'm not into the institution of the Sufism. So I don't like the whole thing about orders and leaders and all of that. But the essence of it, the philosophy of it, which is closeness, oneness, connectedness, part of. And Mevlana Rumi, of course, is the mother.
Because I'm very fan.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, yeah. I think there's a Rumi poem for every life situation. So yeah. Okay.
Hi. I really liked your thought about Tesla and their CSR department. They don't need a CSR department because their product itself is a CSR. So, do you maybe have some other interesting examples of CSR that you'd like to share with us? Because it's something that's really modern nowadays.
Oh, okay. You know what? I probably have a lot, but you're putting me on the spot a little bit. Right now. No, it's great. No, it's a great question, and you're exposing me for the phony that I am. Okay, you're putting me on the spot a little bit. Can I offer you that you drop me that question as an email, and I will send you a list? Promise? Okay, great. Let's do it that way, because right now I'm empty. So if you ask me for examples, like thinking Tesla, because that's what was in there. So yeah. Okay, great.
Tom's shoes, maybe?
Say again?
Tom's shoes.
Yeah. That's a nice example. I have an association with it because I know a certain type of people that wear those. But yeah, I mean, it's great what they do, of course, the way they approach it. There are so many things like that out there now. I mean, Elo is an example as well on the digital domain. There are so many examples out there now. That's, I think, what I'm struggling to come up with one in particular. One that means nothing to you, but is very dear to me. The Beta House in Berlin is a co-working space. that is run in a way that is just profoundly it's about integrity, it's about staying true to your purpose. That's really what makes it a CSR. So any venture that does that gets my full respect, and I think falls into that category. That's one that I can think of right now that does it. And you know what? As I'm seeing you guys here, I think this falls into the same category. Yeah. Do you guys have a CSR department? Yeah. Okay, there you go. Okay, good. But drop me an email. I'll send you a few things that I like.
I have one more remark. I really, really appreciate that your company is called Context, and that you today spoke about context of us as human beings, because we really tend to categorize humans by some of their preferences, something like religion or nationality, and we really forget about our ultimate context as a human being of this planet. So that's really nice.
Thank you.
Remember.
Thank you.
Yeah, which we always forget.
I think I have one of my students sitting here in the audience. I don't know if I've done this with you guys, but I like to stress to my students at one point when we're talking about got to make money, got to be rich, got to do this, got to do that. Probably in second term, Maria. Okay. I will tell them, think about it for a moment. At first there was nothing, and then there was a little fluctuation in temperature, and then that kind of brought the quantum vacuum into vibration, and there was a big bang. And suddenly matter is created, and it shoots in vibrations, and they shoot through space, and they kind of just space actually is created, and shoots around, and stars are formed, and those stars expel matter, and that matter is formed into planets, and those planets grow ecosystems. And the next thing you know, you're sitting in your suit, worrying about what kind of car you should drive in order to get laid. Is that PG-13 still, or am I crossing the line? Right? So that's a little bit of context for you right there. And maybe we should take a breather and look at that and ask, what am I actually doing here? Yeah. So thanks for that.
I share the same.
Yeah.
So channeling Carl Sagan, we're only the stars.
And that's not,
that's not the euphemism or a metaphor.
When I lived in the States, they would say to me, always aim for the moon, because even if you miss, you land among the stars. Okay. Fair enough, that's cheesy, but that's not cheesy, that's true.
No,
that's an amazing thing, so we really need to get that into our heads.
I have to ask you then one thing.
Okay.
You said, and I quote, regarding our world today, I feel good about it. Not least because I believe that very few people are actually maliciously trying to bring our world and this planet to an end. So all those evil corporations are actually only misguided.
Yeah, look, I did a workshop at a very big, one of the big four. So yeah.
So you couldn't tell them you're evil bastards. You told them.
yeah, exactly. I had to do that in order to keep my contract. No, I tell you what. Those of you who have worked with me before know that I actually do tell them when I need to. But I went in there, and it was one particular team that I can't tell you too much about it because I think they wouldn't like it. But it's one particular team, it's a very particular niche in that company. It's one of the big four, and the lady that hired me, when I arrived there, I shared what I had to do. It was a very radical presentation. It's actually a workshop. And I tell you what, they were some of the most understanding, most wonderful people that I have met yet in the professional context. And what they said to me is, they said, you wouldn't believe how hard we struggle internally to get these things to happen because of the culture, because of some of the other teams. So look, corporations are made of people, The evil big corporation is actually a whole bunch of people doing something. And I work for one of the most evil corporations I can imagine, and I will name them as Shell, the oil company. I work for them, and it's made up of people, and there's some really good people there as well, And I think we need to remember this, and we need to remember what drives people. Most people are aware, and when they're aware and you ask them, why are you doing this? They say, well, look, I've got to eat, I'm just trying to get by. I don't know how else to do it. That's why I think this whole task of entrepreneurship is so important and enabling people, because we need to create alternatives for people. So there's this wonderful reggae song by the Brand Foundation. They say, it takes a weak heart to judge one another. It takes a weak heart to judge those who suffer. So, I mentioned Erich Fromm in that interview, and he wrote a book, Fear of Freedom. And I think it's important that fantastic. It's important to realize that a lot of the maliciousness that we observe is actually a form of expression of suffering. Someone's looking for love. So the worst thing we can do is scream and yell and say you suck, and the best thing we can do is say, let me show you an alternative way to do it. Yeah.
More questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Disruptive. That's like the entrepreneurs use all over the time. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, do you believe that this stage, like 2014, with the appearance of Tesla Model the other car industry makers making, like BMW is making now the i8, which is a hybrid, but it's a step in that direction. They believe that this is like the beginning of the end of the carbon age era. And with the oil price like falling down, so what the people are like discussing what's going on and everything. And on the other side, do you agree with Elon Musk's thought that everything besides rocket can be built sustainable?
Everything besides the rocket can be built sustainably.
Yeah.
Beautiful comment. Okay, let me answer the first part of the question. I don't think it's already the end of the carbon era. Maybe the beginning of it, but the beginning of it has been for a while now. You know, the Industrial Revolution took 100 years to manifest. This is starting off now. It could take a bit longer. I think BMW and co, they're not really coming out with those cars because they want to. I think they have to. Again, the markets are pushing them. I can tell you, I know Shell is one of the biggest investors in alternative energies. Now, how much of that stuff do you see on the marketplace? Okay, because that gets put aside for the day when oil runs out. So I look at, did I say Shell just now? I mean any big oil company really, you know. So I think it's a manifestation of that which we were talking about before, that the market is moving faster than industry. And the market is pushing and changing. I read a fantastic statistic recently, and I can't remember the exact numbers, that's why I didn't put it in here, but the Fortune 100, I think they were established in what, 1970 something? The list? Or 80s?
No, it's almost like 100 years old.
Okay, then even longer. Okay, so anyway, the first, from the establishment until 1996, I think some 13% of the Fortune 100 turned over. From 1996 until 2007, I think some 30% turned over. From 2007 until now, some 86% turned over. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's in the 80s, 30s. And so that means in the last 7 years, we have seen bigger turnover on top, yeah, of the big companies than in the last, what, 80, 90 years combined, you know? So that's, the market is moving faster than industry. And that's why startups are eating up industry. And I think, you know, the i8 and the i6 or what it is come out because Tesla is doing his thing, you know, and I think it's great. And I think it's going to force the end of it. But a lot of people are still making a lot of money with carbon, you know, so it's going to take, and there's a lot of interest embedded into it. So I think that's not going to happen overnight. But we just got to keep doing it, you know, that's it. I mean, one student said to me not too long ago, sustainability is a rock under a waterfall that after hundreds of years starts to take shape of the water, you know? It takes time, but there's movement, and that's how we need to look at it, I think. So, you know, your second part of the question, what was that again? You asked me? Yeah, yes, I believe that. Yeah, absolutely, totally, absolutely. I look at roads as someone who studies and teaches design. I look at a road and I say, okay, the challenge was go from A to B. Yeah, or I look at a bridge. The challenge was to go from A to B. You solved it, but you stopped at the first idea. You know, it's loud, it's messy, it's nasty. You know, you stopped at the first idea. So a D minus. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of D minuses out there. You know, so there's a lot of space for improvement. So yeah, I think that even if I wouldn't think that's true, I would tell you it's true because that's what we need to aim for. Yeah. Just thank you for that question.
Question right here.
Thank you for a great lecture. I was wondering if you get probably some listeners from businesses when speaking about this idea. And I was wondering about the businesses and entrepreneurs that embrace it. The level of awareness, is it different in developed countries and developing countries, or is it connected to the cultural background of the people? Do you see some kind of relation?
Look, I see aware businesses coming from all over. I see aware entrepreneurs from all backgrounds, you know, wealthy families, poor families, working class, you know, aristocrats, they're all over the place. Old age, young age, you know. One of the most amazing conscious entrepreneurs that I mentioned today to Natasha, Georgi Muzilev, is a guy in Berlin. He's probably in his late 40s, you know, from Bulgaria. So I wouldn't want to draw a line and say this is how you can, you know, I think entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's not genetic, you know, it's not heritage, it's a mindset. That said, if you ask me developed or you know, developing, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out of developing countries and a lot of forward-thinking stuff. And you know why? I think they're not bogged down with as much status quo and as much existing heavy structures as you get in the developed world. I mean, you know, developed, you know, but yeah, so I said this early in the lecture today, you here in Montenegro are in a wonderful position because you have a great land that has not been built, bricked up with all kinds of crap over the last, 50, 60, 70 years of mindless tourism, So in some sense, you're at an advantage to, let's say, the south of Spain, And yeah, so to answer straight up, I think developing countries have some really cool stuff coming out, but in general, I at least can't determine a line by which we could say that's likely to be a conscious entrepreneur. By the way, beautiful term, impact entrepreneurship. Yeah, impact entrepreneurship. Very nice term. Yeah.
So basically trending on Twitter currently in Montenegro. One question I have to ask you, it's been mentioned on Twitter also. You worked on a game called Energy Street Fight.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the people which are becoming more and more numerous that believe that gaming can actually change the world, like Jamie Gunnigal.
Yeah.
Like that. So a little bit about the game and
yeah, okay. Energy Street Fight was an experiment that was run with our collective it's called Vic Ventures. That's basically just a loose collective of entrepreneurial-minded people who like to try out radical projects to test theories. So Energy Street Fight was really a proof of concept that gamification can be used to motivate people intrinsically to change their energy behavior. That game wasn't the best version we've built. That was a combination of virtual and real world. We're currently building something new for a state in Western Germany that's predominantly offline. The whole thing's offline. And what we've learned, I don't want to tell you about Energy Street Fight because it can take forever, but and there's a presentation on it online somewhere. But what we have learned is there's a difference between gamification and playfulness. The problem with gamification is that if you build a game, people tend to forget what it's about. So you reach them, they do the things you want them to do, but there's no shift in consciousness. While there's a thin line, and it's difficult to determine where exactly, but if you make it playful, which is not, if you play, it's not the same as game, then you're more likely to manage to keep people focused on. No worries at all. That's a what kind of phone is that? There you go. Android, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. Still a bit to go there. Okay, my phone doesn't do that, but okay. All right, so I wanted. That's exactly the point. Yeah. So that's it. So I think gamification is great, but I think we need to be careful not to turn everything into games because that's not the same. It's about making it easy to do stuff, lowering the barrier. Our definition of games. Yeah, increasing participation. That's it. Our definition of games has been, how did he say that again? It was beautiful. Getting people to overcome unnecessary obstacles voluntarily. So basically, it's getting people motivated to act, but it shouldn't be. So I want to warn a little bit of that. Yeah.
Basically, breaking all records time-wise. So last chance. Question. Okay, then I'm going to ask something completely unrelated.
Okay, go for it.
How does basketball, capoeira, and you will need to explain what that is,
okay,
and entrepreneurship and green culture combine into one person?
Okay, so basketball, as a child, you will think, what can I be when I grow up? And, my context wasn't very creative. It was quite big, so I thought, let's play a little bit of basketball. Actually, the story is this. When I was a child, I started playing different sports, handball, table tennis, all kinds of stuff. And I was pretty good in all of them. And then I found basketball. And the first training I went, my Romanian-Hungarian coach came to me and said, "Yo, you suck. You will never do anything. Choose something else." And then I dropped everything and I did that, So, and then I got a little too deep into it and I wanted to be a professional basketball player. So, which actually then took me to the United States. That's how I got to go there. And that opened my mind for other things that I could do in life. So basketball then kind of faded out. And entrepreneurship, I think entrepreneurship became not just a dream, but a real option when I joined the corporate world and realized there's a wonderful German poem where the guy says, it's dangerous to jump out of a riding train, but better than to kill yourself slowly inside. Yeah, that's how I felt there. I mean, I was so unhappy, spiritually so unhappy, that I just, at one point I said, I can't do this, so I need to jump out of it. And when I jumped out of it, I was lucky. I was picked up by a community of entrepreneurs, effectively, and they showed me there's another way. So that step was a step into the dark, but the dark wasn't emptiness. There was something there. So that comes together with that. Then capoeira. Are we past PG-13 yet? Okay. I once had a mind-altering experience where I looked at the universe and I said, everything is in balance. There's no resistance, movement, reaction, action, reaction, but not resisting. It's fluid. Everything seems to flow. And then I have a very, very good friend, Vija Kadadi, who's a philosopher and an activist and an entrepreneur. And we once sat together and, we were talking about, he wrote his thesis, the title of his thesis was Existential Cosmology, right? So we talked about cosmology, and I mentioned, to me, capoeira is and I had only seen it once. I told him, I think it's the perfect metaphor for this fluid interchange of, action, so ego, I want to make it, and surrender.
I think you need to explain at least in
Okay.
two sentences what it is, because I
Oh.
believe a lot of people
Okay.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, demonstrate. Yeah.
We'll need the
Yeah.
drums, so
Yeah. Capoeira is a Afro-Brazilian martial art. It's a combination of dance, play, and fight. It's actually a martial art. It's a fight, but it's disguised as a game. So you play it in a human circle. It involves kicking, a lot of rotation, a lot of movement, a lot of spinning. It involves dodging. That's it. There are no punches, because in capoeira philosophy, the feet are for destruction and the hand are for creation. So you don't use your hands to destroy. Yeah, only to create. So yeah.
Was it not discovered, but I don't know the word, but produced by slaves?
Yeah. So the theory is that capoeira emerged from the African slaves in Bahia, that in a struggle for liberation and freedom. So, and that really is what capoeira does. It's a form of liberation, spiritual liberation almost, and physical liberation. So yeah, it's two people play it in a circle. There's music. The music tells you the rhythm, so you need to adapt to the rhythm. And there's a lot of kicking and dodging and a lot of trickery. There's not really an aim of the game, but during the game, my master always says, you play together until you don't play together. Yeah, and he says you try to make him look good until there's a chance to make him look bad. So capoeira is a celebration also of everything that makes us human. It's one of those spiritual. To me, it's a spiritual practice. It's one of those practices that doesn't deny us our flesh. So in capoeira, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to have ego. It's okay to be. It's okay to be horny. It's okay to be wild. Yeah, but it's it's okay because that's something, no resistance. But still agency. Yeah. So. That's currently the latest step on that. It hasn't integrated yet, but that's the thing. Next thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been practicing for 2 years, and I hope. At one point, I did almost the same mistake that I did with basketball. I said, I'm gonna drop all this, and I'm gonna go to Bahia and become a capoeirista, but there's no money in that. So no, I'm joking. Yeah. No visa, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so after almost 2 hours of no one leaving the room,
Okay.
that's probably
Thank
the
you.
biggest compliment. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to thank our partners for this evening, the British Council in Montenegro, the NGO Krug, and of course, most of all, our guest Habib, and see you all at the Green Culture Fest. Thank you.
Thank you.